I'm going to use this. Everyone can hear me? Cool. I told him that I could introduce myself. My name is Kelley Louise. If you want to know more about me, you can just Google me. That's a lot easier. I'm the founder of Impact Travel Alliance, and I will get into more about what we do a little bit later in the presentation. But today I want to share with you guys about the power of sustainable tourism and specifically community-based tourism. So this is the most text that you guys will see on one of my slides. The main points that you have to take here, as you guys all know, the two organizations that we really look to measure growth within the industry are the UNWTO and the WTTC. As travelers and travel professionals, we tend to measure growth in numbers and really look at that as success within the industry. So this past year, our tourism at the amount of international tourists is at its all-time highest, raising by about 6% last year. And our growth for spending is up a 3.9%, which sounds really good when you look at it like this. You're like, that's great, that's a lot of progress, we're growing, this is getting better year over year. Until you compare it to something like this, and you see that there's a crack. So if you look at the red one on the bottom, that's the growth in the amount of tourists, and then the other line is the growth in the amount of money that they're spending. So there's more travelers, but they're spending less money, and less money is staying in local economies, and that's a huge problem. This is Amelia Earhart. I'm assuming that you guys all know the story of Amelia Earhart, and I wanted to make a point here because Amelia Earhart didn't get lost because she took a wrong turn. She had 1 degree of separation that was off in the wrong direction, and that ultimately led her down the wrong path out into who knows where. So rather than looking at a story of we're hopeless, there's over-tourism, there's greenwashing, there's all of these issues within the travel industry, I want to look at it in the other way and say let's move the needle over 1 degree in the opposite direction and see where that takes us. So we're all in Nepal right now. I wanted to share some stories from other communities around the world, and hopefully that you guys, as you're here in Nepal, you can draw experiences and draw parallels to what that looks like into the local Nepalese community and the travel industry here. This is a community in South Africa in a small rural area called Bellini. Most people, they hear South Africa, they think about Cape Town, they think maybe about Johannesburg, and they have all of these stereotypes that they think of when they're considering tourism in South Africa. They're not necessarily thinking about a little town called Bellini, but there's a really, really great community-based tourism project there that is run by these women. And if you've ever heard the term going to the salt mines, it essentially means that there's something that you're going to do that is incredibly hard. So you have these women in this community, and what they do is they go to the salt mines, and they are mining salt. It's this incredibly hard, incredibly intensive practice that they do, and it's something that's been a part of their indigenous community for more than 2,000 years. There's a really great community-based tourism organization called Transfrontier Parks and Destinations. And when they went into this community and they said, we have travelers who are interested in learning more about this practice, we'd like to bring them here to you. There were 5 women who were practicing this 2,000-year-old tradition. Now, because of the power of tourism, there's more than 32. So simply from travel, we have the power to save 2,000-year-old practices that were at risk of disappearing within our lifetimes. I also want to make a point to talk about what sustainable tourism is. We've been doing a lot to talk about sustainable tourism as a whole, and a lot of times I'm talking to someone and they're like, I'm picking up what you're putting down, but I don't really understand what sustainable tourism actually is. We've done surveys within our community, and we've found that there's a lot of people who are really excited about the concept of sustainability, but they don't have a concrete definition of what it actually looks like. So I'm not just talking about ecotourism, I'm talking about something that has a positive impact on the people, planet, and profit. Essentially, I'm talking about travel that empowers local communities and protects our environment. And that's something that every tourism business should be doing, and should be doing it fiercely. This is Times Square. I'm willing to bet, I'm a New Yorker, I'm willing to bet that when you think of sustainable tourism, you don't think of Times Square. But it is absolutely possible to have an urban sustainable experience in New York City, and you can also have one in Times Square. There's a really great company called New York City Urban Adventures, and they do a tour of Times Square and Midtown, where you're able to visit local destinations, support local businesses. They teach you how to walk through different side streets, so you're not adding to the overcrowding that's already happening that you guys can all see right there at the bottom. And it's a really great, authentic experience that allows you to get a local glimpse into New Yorkers' lives. If when you go to New York City, all you're doing is going to Times Square and getting a I Heart New York City t-shirt, you have not seen my city. And so this is a really great way that we can still do something that's a top tourist destination and have a really good local impact on that community. I also love finding sustainable experiences that are related to food and drinks. This is a fantastic winery in New York City called Rooftop Reds. And they've actually developed the first commercially viable winery that's on a rooftop up in New York City and in the world, and it's in New York City. And you can go there and you can learn about the process behind how they're growing the wine and distilling it on top of a rooftop, and they're doing it in a sustainable way. And this is a really cool experience where you have a very immersive look into what it's like to be a New Yorker, and you're also doing something that's sustainable at the same time. So at the end of the day, to me, it's an easy sell because these experiences that I'm telling you about are the best, immersive, most authentic experiences that you can have in a destination. But even if you don't care about that and you're just a business owner who cares about your bottom line, this is the secret to how you're going to have a better business. Companies that do good for the environment, their labor force, and communities do well financially, and that's proven. If you want to talk to me about all of the business benefits later, I'm happy to do that. I could go on and on, but I do want to be cognizant of the time. My main point here is that when I came to Nepal for the first time, this is my third time, everyone that I met told me going once is not enough. And I think that this is a really interesting parallel that you can draw between tourism in Nepal and also sustainability, because sustainability builds loyalty with your travelers. I'm very action-oriented, and so I do have 3 resources that I wanted to give a shout out to. This first one is called The Invisible Burden, and it's a really great study that the Travel Foundation just released a couple of months ago, and it's about all of these different things that we're not necessarily thinking about, like the infrastructure of a destination, what the roads look like, what taxes look like, how we can look at an increase in the amount of tourists, but we're not necessarily thinking about all of those underlying costs. So they do a really great job of breaking that down and then saying here's some action items that you can take from there and continue to improve upon it. Transforming Travel by Jeremy Smith. This is the future of tourism. If you guys want to talk about the circular economy or regenerative approach, he highlights an incredible amount of amazing resources from around the world and examples of how you're not only having a sustainable approach to your business, but you're also turning it into something that's regenerative. And the last one is our own study. It's called Bringing Sustainable Tourism to the Masses. And what we do is we, at Impact Travel Alliance, we break down the challenges that the industry is currently facing, the potential for sustainable tourism to have a positive impact, and then actionable insights that you can take as a business owner. And as a quick overview of Impact Travel Alliance, so every single organization or person that I have mentioned in my talk today, I did that strategically because they are a part of our global community around the world. We represent more than 20,000 members across all different parts of the world. In 2018, we hosted more than 80 events. To date, since our launch in 2015, we've hosted more than 250 events. So we're teaching travelers how to spend their money mindfully so that they have a positive impact on a destination. And that's it. Thank you.